Should you move to San Francisco or Seattle to be a product manager to make the most money working for top tech companies? My name is Alex. I used to be a Google PM, Group PM for 4 years, and now I run the Product Career Accelerator, where we help proactive, experienced PMs, hopefully just like you, get into top tech companies. Today, we're going to be talking about the geographical question. Should you actually move to San Francisco? Is it worth it to move to San Francisco? Do you get more access to more jobs? More access to more jobs? Do you also get more access to more money? Let's unpack all of this stuff. I've done a assessment for you, a little bit of a geographic breakdown. Let's dig into it. So first and foremost, our cast of characters here. We got the San Francisco Bay Area. That is not just the city of San Francisco, but the metro area. And for all of these, I'm going to be talking about the metro areas, which means plus or minus about 45 to 60 minutes away from that city center. So first on this list is San Francisco Bay Area. We got, of course, Seattle. We got New York, Los Angeles, Austin, Denver, and for all of you folks in all the other regions, I've got remote. Or perhaps you've moved out east or west during the pandemic, and now you're really enjoying living on your 1 acre, $200,000 farm or homestead, and it's awesome. And look, I actually, to be honest with you, kind of am jealous of you, frankly. So if you're looking for remote roles, we got you covered also. So we're going to be talking about all of these. Here's how I thought about it. First thing that I did is I looked at the LinkedIn number of jobs. So let's look at remote jobs available in all of the US. We've got 2,000 results in the last 30 days. This is full-time only. This is only remote. And what I did is I did a search for product manager. So of course there's senior product manager, principal product manager, group director, blah, blah, blah. But I just did product manager because the point for us is to see how they differ from one another. What's the relative quantity? So we've got 2,000 as our baseline. So there's a lot of jobs for remote roles. Okay. How about Denver? 136 results in the last 30 days. Okay, let's keep going. Austin, 200 jobs in the last 30 days. Los Angeles, 330, getting up there. New York, 840, a substantial number of jobs and significantly more, pretty much more than all of these combined. Let's get into Seattle. 747, just about as much as in New York, but there's some caveats because it's what type of jobs, what type of PM jobs are these? And finally, San Francisco with 1,300. So San Francisco Bay Area does take the cake. There are clearly more jobs, more new jobs available in San Francisco, and I've kind of stack ranked these according to where there are more opportunities. Let's do a little bit of an analysis now. Here they all are. San Francisco obviously has the most, but remote roles, also a ton of remote roles. However, there's an issue that, of course, there's more people competing for those roles because it's literally everybody that's not in these markets and some people that are in these markets that are competing for remote roles. And there's a bunch of other nuance that we're going to get into about the differences between these markets and remote roles. So let's dig deeper in. I've added another concept here for us to think about. This is top tech companies represented within that geographical space. So as you can see, San Francisco Bay Area pretty much has all of the top tech companies represented. I kind of put 90%. Nobody's perfect, but pretty much the biggest concentration of top tech companies you're going to find in San Francisco Bay Area. San Francisco down to San Jose, up north in North Bay, and then obviously throughout the Silicon Valley, so in the peninsula. Seattle also has huge representation, obviously Microsoft, Amazon, and a ton of other tech companies you're going to find there. And then as we go down, you're going to start to see that fewer and fewer of the top tech companies are actually represented, bringing us down to 30% for Denver. So you just won't find certain tech companies in Denver or in Austin or in LA or even in New York, but you will find pretty much all of them in San Francisco and Seattle. Let's keep going. There's much more to this analysis. What about the availability of the PM job specifically? Sure, the companies might be represented here and here and here even, but how many jobs are there for product managers in those areas? So as you can see, and I should tell you, how do I get this information? Of course, we use LinkedIn, but also inside PCA, we work with hundreds of PMs, helping them land their next top tech PM role. And we have folks from all over the country. So we have data from lots of different regions from the countries to understand where different companies are hiring, where the roles are available, and where and what kind of offers are available. And we'll get into that in a minute as well. So for now, the thing to take away is that not only does San Francisco have most of the top tech companies represented, but also it has a ton of PM roles available at those jobs. Google, Facebook, Snapchat, DoorDash, Instacart, whatever, they all are hiring for positions here. Same pretty much applies to Seattle. I just toned it down, it's just a slight down from extreme to very high. New York still has a high number of roles, but as you get into Los Angeles, Austin, and Denver, you get into low numbers, which means there are either no roles available or few PM roles available. And the same goes for remote. About half of the companies have remote roles, but unless a company is fully remote, you may not have PM opportunities or very many PM opportunities. But there's more. Let's dig into more. Now we get into some costs stuff. Let's see, what does this next one have? Okay, let's actually show you a little bit more here. So let's just right away look at the cost of living. So cost of living is an important consideration. People often tell me, well, wait a minute. It's very expensive to live in San Francisco, and it's true. It's not cheap. So let's go over some of these costs. So if you're looking to sell your farm in Idaho, that acre farm, and then pick something else up in the Bay, that's not going to happen. Your base starter home is about $2 million, whereas perhaps remote, you could get a mansion for $500,000. Clearly, I've spent too much time in the Bay Area. I don't know a lot of the relative home prices around the country, but I did look into Zillow and just added a little bit of sanity check into these. So these are obviously approximate. Take these with a grain of salt, but just to give you directionally what it takes to actually buy a home in these places. So you may not be able to buy a home here, even if you are a fancy, high-paid PM, not initially at least. So here's the rental cost. Again, across the country in general, it may be $2,000, but then in these other places, it might be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. And New York and San Francisco, it might be $6,000. Actually, come to think of it, Seattle, $4,000 might be too low, so it probably is also $5,000. So those are your living costs. So they do go up as well. But, and now we get into the meat of it. Let me see if you can open this a little bit so you can see. All right, so peak TC, what is this? This is the most compensation that you can make as an IC or lower level leadership PM, so like a principal or group PM. Yes, you are running a small team of product managers at this point, and you're kind of at the upper end of the earning potential, but let's just look at these numbers. So in San Francisco, your peak, let's say you're an L7 group PM at Google or Meta, you might be at about $1 million a year of compensation. Whereas for remote roles, you might tap out at about 400, 450, which means it's very, very hard to get a remote role that pays more than this amount, irrespective of the level, the rank, or where it is. Same goes for Denver and Austin. It's just harder to get roles that cap out above this number. And this is our data confirms this as well. So LA, you can still get some high numbers. New York, you can still get high numbers. Seattle, you can get very high, but the highest ones is in San Francisco again. So even though your cost of living and everything else goes up quite significantly, and cost of ownership goes up quite significantly, your compensation potential, the maximum, is still significantly higher. So roughly twice higher than this already very, very high number. And I'm not saying that it's easy to reach any of these peak compensation levels, but I am saying we've gotten offers for these. And so we know what it takes. And these are very realistic, modern kind of 2025 numbers. All right, so now let's look at some scenarios. What could you do if you want to work remotely, for instance? You know what you're giving up. You can go and live in an area that you really love, or you have some family commitments. And at the same time, you know that your peak will be right around 400,000. So pick up the type of experience that is going to be beneficial to you for your future experience, for your future job placement. So if you ever hope to work in top tech companies in San Francisco, in Seattle, then you may want to create your career in such a way that you have access to these opportunities later on. All right. So hopefully this gives you a few of the scenarios. Feel free to take a screenshot of this or ask me any questions in the comments. But these are pretty much the trade-offs. There's very few exceptions outside of these. So if you are looking to eventually make $1 million as a product manager, which is very, very possible, although difficult, then the best place to do that is going to be San Francisco, Bay Area, or Seattle metro area. Sorry, but that's the way that it is. And also, it's going to be much easier. You're going to have way more open roles available. Of course, competition is higher as well. But if you are doing the work, if you're doing the work and you're working hard and you're committed to this, then you may as well go to the place where you have the highest opportunity of jobs available and the highest possible compensation. That's my thought on the subject. Happy to take any of your questions. And as always, I'll see you next time. Thanks.